just to see. But, like last, I'm in queue. I've been in queue for 20 minutes. Everything I must I will not forget. Plus my Nintendo I must protect. Must stone to must invent Naruto, he will be next. You can kiss all my affirmations, and I won't abandon any of my companions. Soccer is time helping her awaken. Well, if the cat doesn't come up here, she'll get bad. Well, learning about the aliens. What do you guys know about aliens? Not a fucking thing, I bet. That's why we're learning.
Happened to that vehicle?
So we knew where it was being stored at a particular location after the crash, and then the military came in and we grabbed
See how
it towards
he's
the end
in
of the
front of
war,
a curtain?
1944, 1945,
I'm gonna get
because,
in front of a
like I said,
curtain.
Pope
That
Pius
looks
XII
nice.
already kind of lets FDR know.
Why'd the Pope get involved? Because it's
Well,
in Italy?
well, interestingly enough, there's like a whole history of human intelligence prior to World War II, and old money, the Vatican, the Italian mob, kind of the old country boys did a lot of informal intelligence collection for the U.S. And there's probably some books you can read on it, but it's really interesting. Human intelligence collection wasn't really formalized until the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which became the CIA in 1947. You had, Paul Mellon and all these other affluent guys of all these old money families that basically created the CIA.
Touché.
So that's probably the reason why.
So this thing
Old money
that
guys who
was
created the
recovered,
CIA.
this was the first documented one that the United States had access to?
I can't get into
Okay.
if it was the first or not, but
Okay.
it was an early one.
Very early.
Yeah.
So it's almost 100 years ago.
Yes.
And so they take this thing and then they bring it where?
Yeah, I can't get into those.
Can't get
details.
into that.
No.
Okay. So they bring it somewhere in the
Yeah.
United States. And was the attempt to try to back engineer this thing? Was the attempt to try to understand what it was?
Yeah, I mean, first of it, obviously, it's understanding the situation, right? What do we have our hands on? And like I've said in some other videos and stuff, that we took the Manhattan Project secrecy and overlaid it on this issue because that secrecy worked well for atomic bomb developments and whatnots. And certainly this whole program in a nutshell, if I were to summarize the 90 plus years of history, it is a reverse engineering program to garner some kind of insight. And of course, not a lot of the things that we've learned from it are directly, ripped off the technology we found, but it has inspired other innovations that made its way into other U.S. classified programs over the year for national defense reasons, and it's a myriad of different things. So.
The UFO folklore is that this is where fiber optics were discovered first.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the seal on anything we've discovered or anything like that. And yeah, it's a place I can't go to.
How limited
yeah.
are you
Yeah.
in what you can discuss and what you can't discuss, and why?
Yeah.
Why do they let you discuss any of this?
Yeah, so anything sensitive that I want to say as it relates to U.S. government activity, whether it be intelligence stuff, military stuff, etc., I have to submit it through what they call DOPSR, DoD Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. That is something anybody who's been an intel officer, anybody with like a clearance, has to submit that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, if you're writing a book about gardening, you don't have to. But if you're going to talk about anything military and intelligence related, you have to submit. So it's kind of a catch-22 for this office, right? They're only looking at it from a security perspective. They're not vouching for it or anything like that. And that's like any author, right? They could write a book about Navy SEALs and they're not vouching for the story. They're vouching that you didn't say any nasty code words. You didn't burn a specific ongoing classified program. And for them, I mean, I'm not in their OODA loop, but certainly it's a catch-22 for them where if they want to redact and they propose a redaction, they're like, hey, Dave, you can't say these sentences. You can rewrite it and resubmit. You know, we can't necessarily tell you what agency said to redact it, but you're not allowed to say this. They would be basically self-certifying there's a there. So in my opinion, probably the policy is like, if it has to deal with the subject, we're not saying anything. We're not proposing any redactions. As long as he's not burning a conventional program, we kind of have to allow him to exercise his First Amendment rights. And so I think it's like a catch-22 for that office is kind of the short of the long answer.
So this is essentially one of the very early ones, 1933.
Mm-hmm.
How many crash retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. The specific numbers I do know, however, I can't discuss that. And I know it sounds like, oh, I'm being coy or whatever, but you know, this show, any other interviews I do, right? You know, foreign intelligence services are watching, and it's like, I'm not here to help Russia and China calibrate their intelligence collection. Like, oh, Dave said it's this number. We missed a couple. Shit, let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and GRU are now going to hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they missed. So I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government accountable, really. So, because I'm here as a fact witness, because we have a constitutional oversight issue, because this program has not been, reported to Congress in the appropriate way, and I can get into a senator I talked to that has died recently, so I can explain to you why I'm so sure. Besides what I read, which we can get into what intel reports I read, I did get some stuff cleared. So during my investigation, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about using their name because they died 2 years ago. So in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with Senator Harry Reid about 9 months before he died. And of course, he's a private citizen now, and I wanted to brief him on
we're doing that too,
the topic,
but we're also
and
doing
I wanted
aliens.
to get his kind of thought leadership on it, because he was a Gang of 8 member, right? Which is
this guy has words like thought leader in his
senators
head.
and congressmen.
We think
He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, he helped sponsor the OSAP program that I mentioned, and where they looked at Skinwalker Ranch and some other things. And I wanted to understand, like, what does Harry Reid actually know? Like, why did he, give $21 million to DIA and Bigelow Aerospace for this? So I'm sitting there in Harry Reid's living room, right next to him with some other witnesses that were there with me. And he straight up says, he's like, yeah, I knew we had UFO material. I was denied access for decades. I tried to get access. And then he explained some of his efforts during OSAP. And I was like, holy shit. Did the former majority leader just say, did he just confirm this to me as well? I was already talking to these amazing high-level people, but I have Harry Reid literally saying, yes, we have material, and he knew it was non-human.
Did Harry Reid
the
have
Mitch
personal
McConnell of the
this?
other side?
I don't know if he's had any personal stuff in his personal life.
I mean, did he see it? Did
he said,
before it was
in
Chuck
terms
Schumer,
of
it was
seeing
Harry
the
Reid.
material himself, he said he was denied access for years. decades was his term, and he actually told me on behalf of me he was going. So he had like a weekly call with President Joe Biden at the time, and he straight up said to me he was going to talk to President Biden about this issue.
Injured while exercising.
And then what he was telling me about OSAP, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history of what fucking OSAP was, because I think there's a lot of people out there that think they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective.
Okay.
But the real reason, so like there's a document that came out a couple years ago through FOIA from the Defense Intelligence Agency. There was this special access program request that Harry Reid, you might have seen this, I think like George Knapp and company have reported on this, that he sent to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, William Lynn. And it was asking for one of the most serious SAPs you can ask for, what they call a bigoted, waived special access program. So waived means it's limited congressional reporting. That is a class of special access programs. And bigoted means it's like by name. And it's like, it was like, you can read the FOIA document. It was like, Harry Reid, James Inhofe, Lou Elizondo, etc. And I'm like, why are you asking for the most serious SAP to be created for a program that ostensibly is looking at Skinwalker Ranch and stuff? And it doesn't make any sense. So what really happened there, and Harry Reid, God bless his soul, made this disclosure a couple weeks after we met in the New Yorker, and you can look this up. I think it was like a May 2021 New Yorker story where he says, I knew for decades, and he made this disclosure, not me, so I'm going to say the name of the contractor. Harry Reid said this. We knew that Lockheed Martin had this material for decades. I tried to get access, and I was denied. And specifically with the Lockheed Martin stuff, he was talking about during the OSAP program. And for the people who are on this program, I submitted this shit to DOPSR, got this cleared, so don't freak out, but I'm telling the truth here. So Lockheed Martin wanted to divest itself from this material at a specific facility that's known to me, that I provided to the Inspector General, like street address, all that shit, right? And the idea was if they made a catcher's mitt, a security catcher's mitt for this shit, most serious SAP possible, the contractor and the other government customer, which was the Central Intelligence Agency, for that specific Lockheed material, and it was shit that they recovered from like the 50s and stuff, and it was like bits and pieces of like hull structure, shit like that.
Okay.
And so they were going to tech transfer it, and the $21 or $22 million was actually for Bigelow Aerospace to build out, facilities in Las Vegas and material analysis equipment. And I have powerful abilities. You got all lost relics along your travels. Paperwork trail I've seen on this shit, and I talked to the people involved in this program, and even Jim Lakatsky, who ran the program, who's a retired DIA officer, PhD in engineering, even made this disclosure in his book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, page 152 to 153, and he also made a disclosure a couple weeks ago, I think it was on Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, where he's like, yeah, we had a whole craft and we broke into the hull and we gained access.
Boom.
And he ran that through the same, security process as I did. And so Jim Lakatsky, who ran this program, is also going on the record that he is aware, personally aware of intact vehicles and everything. But
so they gained access. Mm-hmm. What does that mean, and by what method did they gain access?
The way he wrote it in his book, I can only infer it sounded forcible. So through some kind of, means, I don't know if it was like CO2 laser or something. I don't actually know how they gained access, but imagine it was not permissive access. They broke into the damn thing.
So this thing is essentially sealed, and it's some sort of what was the shape of this thing?
The tree.
Lakatsky didn't disclose the shape on this particular vehicle, as far as I recollect.
What about the dimensions?
I don't believe he did in his book.
The moon holds waters of the well of eternity, the ancient source of magic that was brought so many horrors upon our world. The Druids take advantage of its properties, and the Sentinels revere the wells as shrines of Elune, but sorcery is forbidden to all. So you have heard of the first part of the aftermath of the Battle of Mount Ijol. There is much more to be told, and the tasks you have begun here will continue throughout the rest of your journey through Terdrassil into Darnassus. While there is more I could speak to you on the Moonwell's end of Terdrassil, I must send you along. Corithras, Moonrage, will be expecting you. I have poured the vial of water you brought me into this vessel to bring to him. Seek out Corithrath. You will find him at the Moonwell in Dolinar. Follow the road south from Aldrassil out of Shadowglen. I'm out. And continue to follow the cobblestones as the road turns west. Mind you stay on the road, though, Lonar. There are dangerous beasts in the forest of late. Okay, I'll keep to the road. Got my little journeyman cape, my staff. I'm fucking ready, baby. I'm ready. Okay, back to the aliens that are definitely real.
But I think it's like chapter 11 in his new book or something. I glanced at it. But he did make that disclosure on video as well. And I do encourage both the Aero Office, which is the DoD's UAP task force successor, and Congress to ask Dr. James Lakatsky to come in for classified testimony, because the disclosure in his one book that he wrote with Colin Kelleher, George Knapp, and in the second book, well, the guy saying he has close personal knowledge, he needs to go to Congress. So I don't know James Lakatsky, but I do encourage him to be a fact witness. But going back to that transfer with Lockheed, long story short, can't get into all the nuanced details, but basically the CIA said fuck you to DIA and Lockheed, and it was totally killed. So Harry Reid's request to get the material transferred to the OSAP program was totally killed because of bureaucracy and kind of fiefdom stuff. So they used that money, and then they wrote those defense intelligence reference documents, the DIRDs, as a lot of people who's familiar with it listening will know about. And then they did look at Skinwalker.
I'm definitely not one of those people. Greetings, young druid. Can you offer me aid? I have a package of herbs that I must deliver to the town of Dolinar. I'm headed there. That's crazy. But I still have business with the druids of Shadowglen, and I can't leave. Can you deliver the package for me? It must be sent to the innkeeper, Keldamir, at the Dolinar Inn. It lies just along the road to the south. Yeah, I'm on it, man. Easy. I'm already there. I'm already going there. I open my map for the 10th time looking for the direction. I don't see it. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Ranch, because they thought that studying kind of the more woo-woo phenomenon aspects of this, and I've never been to the ranch, so I've never experienced the ranch for myself, but obviously I think we both know a bunch of people that have been to the ranch and have seen some trippy stuff, or at least allege that. They thought that they would be able to gain currency with the program, and in this case, CIA, to unlock the key for the Lockheed Martin stuff. Which actually, I'll tell you right now, it's like so weird to say that, but I ran that shit through security. To me, it's like an out-of-body experience to talk about that kind of detailed sensitivity, stuff like that. But basically, they studied the ranch to gain favor, to be like, hey, look at all this stuff we're figuring out, this paranormal stuff that's somehow connected to the phenomenon on the ranch. But ultimately, they never gained favor with the government customer. And then the program kind of died a slow death because of a lot of politics in the Pentagon. So that's kind of the long but short of it with the OSAP program that, I wanted to make sure the public knew it's not what you think it was. There was some other stuff behind the scenes that, I wanted to speak truth to power on.
So this particular vehicle that they had recovered from the 1950s, what was the source of it? Where did they find it?
Those details, I did not get clear. So,
okay.
You're asking all the right questions, Joe. Are you headed south to Lake Alameth? If so, then I have a task I might ask of you. My colleague, Dinalin, has a camp along the eastern end of the lake where he is studying and experimenting on the plant life in Teldrassil. He requested a package of rare earths from Darnassus, and it was late, only recently arriving here in Dalinar. Can you take the package to him? Yeah, I'm on it. I like just being around here with all elves. All elves, no other races. A troubled breeze blows through the forest. Tal Vinthrin serves a great warden to the hibernating druids of the Talon in the Balinthil Barrowed-in. His duty as a chosen protector of the sleeping in gaps is to ensure their safety so that the pact of Ysera remains fulfilled. But word from Gerolas is now delayed, and I grow nervous. Travel east to the Starbreeze village and bring back a report from Gerolas so that I can put my worries to rest, knowing that my dreaming brethren slumber safely. Yeah, that's us, the druids. Can women be druids? I don't think so. I think there's a restriction on that. A gendered restriction. I'm not sure. In-game? Yeah, I guess you can. I guess you can. If it's in-game, it's lore. So, it's official. I've only found one 6-luck bat, so I crave and bought one extra sage. Also, no need to shut the music off. It's so calming. Hey. You do quite well, Matt Lonar. It is good to see that druids like yourself are taking an active part in protecting the grove. The Emerald Dreamcatcher. I was once given an Emerald Dreamcatcher from Galaros, the Warden of the Druids in Benathildin. This powerful amulet is able to siphon energy from the Emerald Dream, bestowing luck upon those who carry it. Sadly, I have not been able to retrieve it from my dresser in Starbreeze Village. Although Starbreeze was once a tranquil place, it is now succumbed to the corruption of the Balg that resides there. Perhaps you would be willing to recover my Dreamcatcher, Druid? Yeah, I'll get the Dreamcatcher. What about the Twisted Hatred, though? I must warn you, owner, this matter must stay between us. The Satyr are enough of an embarrassment to us already, and this one is too much close to home. He is called Lord Manalis. He resides in the nearby cave of Fellrock, where he has gathered a large group of Grell warriors. His heart is black as night, and he plots something most foul. You must find him within his nearby cave, just to the north of here. He brings me his head. Oh, and bring me his head. Damn. You got 2 sentinels by him. Her name's Startare. Startare. Oh, plop. Regrowth. Bam. Oh, wow. She walks around with a quest. We'll get it from her, too. Hey, you. Moon Princess. The road to Darnassus must be kept safe. Travelers heading to Dolinar to Darnassus have been reporting ruthless attacks by corrupted furballs from the Narpine tribe. Narlpine. Important news and commerce travels to and from Darnassus by way of this road daily. We cannot afford to have a rogue band of heathens terrorizing people. Take up arms in the name of the sacred forest, Druid. Their den lies somewhere beyond this vantage point. Thanks. Slay 6 of those gnarled pine ambushers and report back to me. Sounds good, I will. Hey, this is the end. Everybody's kind of chilling. Can I set my hearth here? Oh, this guy. Innkeeper. Dolinar delivery. How might I be of service to you, young one? Are you here to rest in the inn? Do you require a hearthstone? Yes. Ah, yes, the delivery of herbs from Shadowglen. It's a shame poor Thonius could not bring it himself, for we have much to discuss, he and I. But I am glad to get the herbs nonetheless, and I am glad you came. Well, you are here, please, rest yourselves. Heroes must keep their strength and spirits high, and must find rest and solace wherever they may. For to neglect one's peace of body and mind is a sure path of failure. So, rest. Oh, I have to choose a reward. That's funny. Darnassus cheese. Take the cheese. You're drunk. You're in bed. My dude Joe, and you're in bed. That's weird. Impossible. Your name's impossible. I was sure I could put a heart. Is it you who does hearth? Is it you? Yeah, you're the innkeeper. Okay, cool. Hearth on. Got my hearth on. Greetings, Druid. For what purpose do I owe the pleasure of our meeting? And little time to do it in. I think we'd best get started.
Yeah.
So they have in possession.
First, let me tell you more of the task you must complete. The druids in Darnassus use water of the moonwell of Terdrassil, and their moonwell must be replenished from time to time. Using these specially crafted vials, you can collect the water of the moonwells. Take this vessel to the moonwell outside of Starbreeze village to the east. I'm headed there, and fill it up with some of its waters, and then return to me. When you have completed the task, I shall continue the story where Terranal left off. Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna head to that village for a few things. Let's go open that cave first.
This thing. They gain access to this thing. And what do they report once they've gained access to it?
Oh, those details I do not know. That's probably a question for Dr. Lakatsky.
Yes.
I presume he knows those details. I don't know.
So this thing is housed somewhere
It is, yes.
currently.
It may still be in the same location that I know about, yes.
And how many people have access to this, and how did they prevent this information from being released?
I mean, it goes back to the compartmentation and kind of the ecosystem of secrecy in this community, right? Only a limited amount of people, at least at the time, on Lockheed Martin's side. And Lockheed Martin was complaining basically like, look, like The secrecy's ridiculous. We can't even bring the right engineers. Like, imagine you're like a hot engineer, hot shot engineer. It might be hot too, I don't know. But that, you're fresh out of grad school. Maybe you're like the best PhD electrical engineer. You want to do cool shit. You want to publish an IEEE. You want to climb the ladder corporately, and that kind of thing. A Lockheed Martin executive comes to you, yeah, dude, I can read you into something really crazy, but you're never going to publish papers on it. You're never going to be able to tell people what you worked on, and it's probably not the most career enhancing. But if you want to work on something cool, but I can't tell you because it's unacknowledged until you sign this piece of paper, non-disclosure agreement. Sorry, but here's the raw deal. And, a lot of people are like, fuck you, no. And it's not like Lockheed Martin could broadcast this to universities like, come work for us.
Right.
You'll work on crazy shit. But that is very akin to a lot of other black programs in the government that are unacknowledged in nature. You don't know what you're signing up for until you get bred in. And I've been briefed to a lot of that kind of conventional stuff in my career.
So that's one of the problems that Bob Lazar, and I'd love to get your take on Bob Lazar. One of the things that he talked about was that science can't really operate in a vacuum.
Yeah.
When you separate the metallurgists from the propulsions experts, from the biological experts, and they're not allowed to communicate with each other, and they're not allowed to bring in other experts to have different.
Well, that was the frustration that I had some friends that I've known my entire career, like almost 14 years, right? I literally know them personally. I had a relationship with them, but they ended up, spilling the beans where, look, we're on the program. I'm an engineer for X, Y, and Z. We can't even cross talk across the cubicles, for God's sakes. I'm looking at material X, doing some X-ray diffraction testing on it, which is like shooting a stream of electrons and seeing how it bends and looking at the atomic arrangements. I can't even crosstalk that with another aspect of the program. This is ridiculous. And that's kind of their frustration. Yeah, I knew you were probably going to ask me about Bob Lazar. I know. I figured as much.
Why did they do that, though? If everybody was already sworn to secrecy, everybody already has NDAs, it seems the most effective way of reverse engineering, or at least gaining an understanding of how these things are structured.
Well, that's exactly how Manhattan was, right? People working on the fuses for the bomb didn't necessarily know it was going to a nuclear weapon. And I've seen this kind of compartmentation, this obtuse secrecy in other programs, and it is debilitating for progress. And honestly, as a former fiduciary of the taxpayer dollars, it's not the best modus operandus to do it that way.
Died in a cave.
And very few people kind of had that top down, could look across the silos and see what was going on. It just became very dysfunctional, and they were afraid of people being too cross-briefed into the different silos for counter-espionage, counterintelligence.
Right.
You're going to remember a bulk of this program is done during the Cold War, and we were afraid of Russian spies, Soviet moles, and so we made it ultra locked down, but to the detriment of national security. And that was one of the crazy things that got me, that I wanted to whistleblow on, because I'm like, this is so stupid. We should be making more progress on this.
Were there any breaches that you're aware of where foreign agents were able to gain access to materials or an understanding of what we know?
So I'll tell you about some intel documents I read that kind of obliquely answers that question. So
Did I go the wrong way?
there were sensitive human-derived foreign intelligence that I read. So I had access to kind of the ATIP OSAP classified archives, and I was thumbing through everything, and there's some other people were bringing me documents to evaluate. And I'll never forget, I had, stolen by the U.S. Intelligence assessment from a certain foreign adversary discussing the U.S. reverse engineering program. And I was like, and that was actually another what the fuck? And so I had an adversary also confirm this program, literally, because of exfiltrated intelligence. And so they certainly had a limited knowledge, at least fact of, that the U.S. had a program like this, a particular adversary. And actually, I was like, well, I want more. Like, I know who wrote this, literally, or who got it, right, on behalf of the United States government. So I went to that certain agency through the approved and official way. And this is kind of part of the myriad reprisals against me. The agency was like, oh, yes, we have what you're looking for, Dave. You're going to need to sign a one-time read-in to something, come visit us to, go to the vault and read it, right? Hard copy. But yes, we have what you're looking for. And ultimately, from what I was told by friends in higher places, my request kind of went up the flagpole at that agency. And all of a sudden, the agency ghosted my boss and I for like 2 months. And then when I really pressed them hard to gain access, because I'm like, I have a need to know. I need to evaluate this intelligence for fucking Congress. And they debriefed me from all my accesses over in that other sister agency and made up some bogus excuse, like I shouldn't have been briefed anything in the first place, literally.
Okay,
And
so
basically gave me an administrative middle finger, like persona non grata. Don't ever fucking ask us about that shit again. I'm sure the person who made the oops that told me they had what I was looking for probably got admonished and slapped on the wrist, because I never heard from that person again, even though it was somebody I actually used to work on occasion with. So that was also another way I knew I was, there was a lot of smoke and fire, because I, had stuff like that happen to me.
So but knowing that our adversaries were aware of this reverse engineering program, are we aware of their reverse engineering programs?
Yeah.
Which countries have
you could probably guess.
Okay. Yeah, the big ones.
And you wouldn't be it won't be too shocking.
Okay.
But I won't acknowledge what the US may know.
Right.
So.
You could probably guess, and it wouldn't be too shocking. Little level old 5 me can't handle this life. I'm gonna have to try hardcore once just to see how far we can get.
So, are we aware of numbers in terms of like at least a rough estimate of how many are available to these other?
Yeah.
How many?
That's like super.
But there's
sensitive.
more than one.
Yeah. You can read into that.
You can read into
that.
that. And has anyone made any progress?
Yeah, I can't get into if we've made progress, if they've made progress, because that's like straight up some national security stuff. But like, just to be clear, I want the U.S. populace to learn a lot of this. And this is why, another reason why I went public is like, I need to call everybody out. I'm not here to admonish the entire government, mind you. But there is an element of the U.S. government and its clear defense contractor base that, we have a 3-branch of government oversight issue. Like going back to Harry Reid. Harry Reid didn't even get access. I fucking talked to him myself to confirm that.
Shit.
And he said he was going to go talk to Biden.
This guy uses
because I think there needs to be a disclosure plan. And this goes back to what's currently in legislation right now. That's super fucking important.
Damn.
Because 90 some odd percent of this should be open for public discovery, public analysis, and academia. This should be like, at very least, true nuclear programs such as nuclear physics, you study in a university. Nuclear weapons, classified, because that makes people in the pink mist. That's really sensitive. We don't need everybody to know how to do that. So I think the stuff that is like legit weapons-related stuff, that's like straight up national superiority stuff, sure. Reasonably classify that, but these programs, we need a change. And that's why you saw the Schumer amendment, right? And I think you might have read that on air or something in a previous episode, if I remember correctly. Chuck Schumer, and I knew about the amendment a couple months before I went public, and that's kind of another reason why I did what I did. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, the only guy that kind of has the opportunity to do this. I know what's in the chute, so to speak, that Chuck Schumer and his staff had with the Schumer Amendment, which is 67 pages of literal, we want to disclose. And I'm like, I have to spike the football by going public because, you know, I can read the tea leaves on the hill, and I think that they were hesitant to do anything without being able to point to something publicly. And I'm like, oh, I'll be that fucking guy and just send it. And then, of course, a month after I went public, I guess I pushed Chuck Schumer over the ledge. And I do know he talked to the White House about the amendment, too, because not like Chuck Schumer's going to propose groundbreaking legislation like that without talking to the National Security Advisor or President. Like, I imagine he did so. And, you know, so you have the 67-page amendments, right? It's called the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023, known as the Schumer Amendment. Co-sponsors were Young, Gillibrand, Rubio, Rounds, and you know, kudos for those senators for stepping up to the plate because they know this is real. I know what meetings that they've had with certain other individuals.
The Gnarl Pine Drive has been corrupted. The once peaceful fur blogs have turned against the protectors of the forest. They ambushed me, and I left for Bannathel Din and proceeded to pillage Starbreeze Village. Ursal the Mauler, the chieftain, is using the evil powers of the Felmos to drive them mad. Are you bringing something to me?
No, do you want something?
No. I am too wounded to return to Athredas to bring him this grave news. The task is left to you, young druid. We can only hope that the deranged Gnarlbine have not made it to Bannathel yet. Oh, they're there. Am I supposed to pick up something? Oh man, his whole house got trashed. Damn. Your place is a wreck. It's a wreck, it's a wreck, it's a wreck. Oh, this is Starbreezy Village. We gotta check the other houses. These people are already here. They're high levels too. 7. This place is just trash. Oh, your dresser. You wanted me to pick something up? Got it. And here's the third house up here. She just came from it. Here's a tree. No, it's a house. It's a house. What's in here? That's cool. You have a nice little pond next to your house. Oh wow, a warrior. Dig-a-da-dun. Put a heart on me and a dot on you. Dig-a-da-dun-dun. Here's a stone, but I can't tell you what it does. Dig-a-da-dun-dun. The moon well at the Starbreeze Village. I didn't see one. Did you guys see a moon well here? Was it out in front? Nice dodge. Level 7 versus me, level 6. I'm so weak. Are you running? Yeah, run. Coward. It's too late for you. I don't know what that is, but I killed the warrior that was in here. Got his kappa. Okay, let's go see if it's out front, or is this the well? Maybe this is the well. Yeah, I know, but that could have been like it, because it was like a... I'm gonna pull all these guys walking through this. Put the heart on me and run. Brudella. Oh, I thought it was up here. A sleepy. Okay, and we'll dip it. Hell yeah. And we got it, and we got it, and we got it. How many quests did we already do? Oops. Twisted Hatred. That was the one I couldn't do because I was so weak. Maybe I can go learn. I'm level 6 now. Maybe I can go learn a new druid move. Or I could hearth back if I wanted to. I'll just walk. It's very classic.
Roles that are, you know,
Just
even more
walk.
credible than myself. And so this act,
Just
which is
discover.
super important, is currently in conference as we speak in Capitol Hill. So the amendment is wrapped in something called the Fiscal Year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. So that is the act that funds the military basically every year, right? So it's an amendment within this bill. And the act is really long, but the main meat of it is about halfway through the act. It talks about a presidential panel or agency, which is 9-person, and a controlled UAP disclosure plan that's 6 years in length, conceivably from 2024 to 2030. And this panel, and you can read this is public law, anybody can read this. They want scientists, economists, sociologists, etc. It's kind of like who you would want to help craft the plan for the president. And this whole bill was actually built off the JFK Records Act, which I know, like, they're like, well, they never released all the records. Well, we put some teeth in the bill, some eminent domain, some other stuff to, kind of force the issue. Now, granted, the chief executive, the president, has the final say. The panel can't compel the executive to do it. But, like, I hope the president does, and I support that.
Oh, again? Yeah, I got the water. After the Battle of Mount Hyjal, we were without direction. Nordra still smoked from the fire it unleashed, and our immortality, the very essence of our being, was lost. It was in these trying times that the betrayer was freed from his prison. And Shando's storm rage disappeared. A dark time for us all. There was another moonwell southeast of the entrance of Darnassus, on the shores of the pools of Arlithrin. The sentinels are having problems patrolling the areas because of the attacks and the growing ill-temperedness of the Gnarlpine furbolgs. Be wary as you seek out that well. Keep your weapon close at hand. Where's this one? Southeast of the entrance of Darnassus. Jesus Christ. My back, baby. It hurts. My back is beneath me. By the stars, this is quite disturbing indeed. Gnarlpine invaders were seen ravaging the burrowed den to the west. The slumbering druids with the will be trapped in the eternal dream for eternity, unaware of their fate, unless we help. Unaware of their fate. The delicate hibernation ritual cannot be broken without the relics of awakening. Journey to the den and retrieve the Ravenclaw talisman, black feather quill, sapphire of the sky, and the rune of netting. The druid stores them in the sacred chest. Return them to me, and I will prepare the awakening ritual. That's a lot of fucking shit, dude. That's a lot of shit. 4 different things. I don't know. I might not be good enough at this game. Kind of bad at this game. I don't want to do that. But I might. See what this guy has to say. I got your dream catcher. Please move swiftly. I can only hope that the Emerald Dreamcatcher has been unharmed. I got it. The Dreamcatcher is of great importance to me. It's a gift only given to a few. Thanks for getting it. The Emerald. It's missing! My Dreamcatcher's been damaged. It was in the drawer. There's a band of Gnarlpine mystics. Oh, great. These guys. Located to the north of Starbreeze. I have heard reports that their leader, the Dream Eater, has been, I think I saw him, has been wearing the necklace that he's level 9, I'm level 6, has been wearing a necklace that glows green in the night. Now, seeing my Dreamcatcher, I am sure that he stole the emerald. Okay. He would never realize that its power is useless to him. Find the missing jewel on our end. While you're there, clear out some of the corrupted mystics as well. Oh, they're corrupted mystics. What did they learn? You can't tell me, right? But it's really bad. These guys are bad news. I can't tell you what I learned, though. How many quests? Let's do this one. Besides in the nearby cave of Fell Rock. I don't know about that cave. Let's go back and kill Dream Eater. I know that's a quest we could
But so the Senate already passed it. They're chill with this. This is like we're good to
let's see
go.
if I can go
and
learn.
but there's pushback in
Druid
the
trainer,
House right
druid
now
trainer,
that
druid
is,
trainer.
you know, pardon my language, fucking ridiculous. So they're saying, for one, it's duplicating the DoD Arrow's office activities. They're doing good things. They're looking at UAP reports, trying to figure out what's balloons and air trash and what's weird stuff. And of course, they are doing an historical review to try to understand the U.S.'s history on this too. But the problem is with that agency, it's within the DoD and IC, not above. So you have an issue reaching into Department of Energy, other, cabinet level agencies. So you need a presidential level panel that can declassify stuff, reach into other agencies, and tell certain secretaries, we're coming in, we want your stuff under presidential authority. So what's happening in the House, from what I'm told from people on the Hill that are working the issue right now, you have the chair of the House Intel Committee, Mike Turner, who's blocking this, from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio area, right, Pat? Weird.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, Pat, meaning Greg Patterson.
Yes, yeah. And Mike Rogers, which I'm kind of surprised, from Alabama, who's the chair of the House Armed Services Committee. So I have a problem with Mike and Mike right now. So Mike Turner, now remember, I went to his committee in December of last year. He wasn't there, but his staff and lawyers were. And of course, he goes on Fox Business after the hearing, doesn't use my names like this whistleblower. He has no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, really? Tell me, Mike. Have you ever been an intel officer or served in the military? Oh, wait, you've been the mayor of Dayton, Ohio. You were voted most corrupt person in Congress a couple years ago. And pull up his PAC donors. Who are his biggest donors? Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing. Okay, so... and first of all, if you thought that you needed more information or wanted to talk to me personally, why didn't you call me back when I reported to your committee?
Yeah,
so,
Mike.
And furthermore, besides blocking the bill, I'm sure you're familiar with like Representative Tim Burchett of Alabama, and he's been very outspoken on the issue. And we may not agree with everything Tim says about conventional stuff. That's, here nor there, but, he's been a champion on the Oversight Committee, and he was, one of the members that I testified in public under oath regarding this. So and Mike Turner is looking to fund, according to staffers I've talked to in the last 2 weeks, an opposition candidate for Tim's reelection in 2024. So why is Mike Turner going out of his way to destroy the career of a courageous Tennessee representative on the oversight
I'm
committee.
really top of my game
And
right now.
why are you blocking a bill? And it's not going to cost much, couple million a year max, for the panel, which is
Coochie
like
boy.
vaporware in U.S. government speak, right? If there's nothing to see here, why are Mike Rogers and Mike Turner in the House blocking this bill that is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
the most important legislation for
It's the
transparency
most
in
important-
American history? If there's
In
nothing to
all
see
of
here,
American history.
I'm fucking crazy. Multi-star generals I talked to are crazy. The intel docs that I read are incorrect. They're fucking forgeries or passage material or something like that. Good friends of mine that worked on the program are bullshitting me in some concerted operation against me and my colleagues that it would be totally crazy to even conduct that because I took precautions. Then why don't we just pass this and see what happens?
And what do you think the answer to that is?
Special interests want to keep the genie in the bottle, even though the toothpaste is coming out of the tube. And I think it's like a death rattle in this industrial complex that doesn't want change. And I'm not here to be like some total adversary. I think there needs to be a truth and reconciliation process on
We're
this
gonna cast
issue.
at each other.
I'm not here to
People
throw people
shoot
in
each
jail.
other. Bing, bing,
I'm not
bam,
here
bam, bam.
for big contractors involved to lose money. I think
Boom,
this would be a
lipstick on the
boon.
ground.
And I think the leadership in these companies need to think about this, where if we're more open with this, you can hire people, you can push the subject into undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral programs of research to study this in an unclassified, just like nuclear physics. And this answers a fundamental question for humanity. Are we alone, or what happens when we die? Well, I don't know about that, but are we alone? Well, the answer is we're not alone. And I know that with 100% certainty, which as an intel officer, you never say 100%, but all things pointed towards, based on the people I talked to, like Harry Reid, and I use him as an example, but I talked to the highest of the high people you could possibly talk to, if you catch my drift. So unless all of them are lying and they're covering up something else, which I don't even know what it would be at this point, because the phenomenon is real. It's been going on for thousands of years. People have been seeing strange things, and not everybody's mass hallucinating. So that's kind of my long diatribe about what's happening.
What do they think these
I have
things
to kill
are?
the mystics. I need
The people that you talk
Yeah.
to,
So they specifically, the people on the program that handle the material, that were in executive level briefings with intel community leaders and other folks over the years, last 20 years or so, they did use the term extraterrestrial, ET or whatever. Okay, that isn't a possible origin, but the Schumer Amendment, if you read it, it specifically uses non-human intelligence, NHI, very deliberately, because we want to catch everything, because what if some of this stuff is not ET and they're going to use that as an escape clause? Like, well, this stuff that we don't even know if it's extraterrestrial, so this doesn't apply. So that's why we wanted to be as broad as possible. I mean, besides ET, a lot of it would be my own personal opinion. I think we have
in the face with
a couple conceivable buckets, and I'm using the work of Jacques Vallée, other people that have thought deeply on the issue, on how the phenomenon has changed since antiquity. It showed itself in a different way. Like a good example is like witches sitting on your chest phenomenon with paralysis in medieval and Enlightenment era became this alien abduction phenomenon in the modern era. And is it the recipient and their analytical overlay cognitively seeing the phenomenon based on a modern interpretation, inside out? Or is the phenomenon, this is like Jacques Vallée's book, Passport to Magnolia, I can never pronounce it right, 1969, where he talks about the phenomenon seems to like masquerade itself as different stuff over the years. But, we've seen roughly the same stuff. You look at the Foo Fighters of World War II. There are declassified Air Force OSI reports from the 50s, people can Google, that talk about flying butane tanks with the same measurements, approximately what we saw in the 2004 Tic Tac incident, but they called it flying propane or butane tanks in the 50s. So from a morphology, or in the Air Force intel we call it VisRecce, visual reconnaissance, like they basically look the same, and we can back azimuth that, decades, if not hundreds of years in the past, wheels of Ezekiel, right? They're seeing these like disc type objects, right? And unless Ezekiel is tripping, or this is an allegory or fable in the Bible, let's say the event
story,
happens. Just
dude.
like in the Vedic
It's
text,
just
you
the
have the
story.
battles, the blue
You're taking
people,
it all
and
literal.
battles
It's not
in
literal,
the sky that sound like
Dave.
nuclear and directed
Yeah.
energy weapons. Like, what's going on there? I mean, maybe that's a Graham Hancock or Randall Harrison type thing. They know more than I. So there is a real phenomenon that origin undetermined, but
allegory.
it's trippy, and sometimes it presents itself in like a non-corporeal form too. Orbs, balls of energy.
Next
They
healing
don't appear
touches
as like some
instant.
kind of bipedal
Bam!
hominid, like some people have espoused. So I think that
Bipedal
might be,
hominid.
call it
Bipedal.
interdimensional, call it shadow biome, crypto-terrestrial. I mean, there's a lot of different theories.
What are the primary
Yeah.
theories? The primary
Yeah.
theories are from another planet or
Yeah.
from another dimension.
I think those are the primary. I mean, there's certainly origins that we probably can't conceptualize as humans because our meat is stuck in 3D and we don't understand, and our IQs are only so high. So there might be some origins that we don't understand.
In terms of like interdimensional travel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you talk to mainstream physicists, they say like crossing dimensions physically is kind of a trope of sci-fi, and that's why I used an example. And I know some physicists don't like me talking about this theory, but it is a theory, so the holographic principle, which was originally conceived to explain how information is encoded on an event horizon of a black hole, which is a distance away from the singularity of a black hole where if you cross it, you're fucked because you're going to get ripped to shreds or you're not coming back. And that principle talks about how information basically from higher dimensional space can be encoded in lower dimensional space. And the easiest example is like
Let's go.
us casting a shadow on a sidewalk, right? 3-dimensional object, 2D shadow on a sidewalk. If you lived in 2-dimensional space, flatland,
like
you'd be tripped
shadow
out.
in the caves.
What the fuck am I seeing? But they just don't know that it's really just a person in higher dimensional space. So is some of the, obviously we have physical material that's in 3-dimensional space that we've recovered, but at least
Let's play
maybe
those games.
some of the phenomenon is really operating in higher
can't
spatial
see
dimensions
what's
that is
outside.
either being
You can
projected
only
or
see the
quasi-projected
shadow.
into our 3D plus time space, which is really trippy to think about, but we literally do it on a day-to-day basis, like casting shadows.
Oh, I never
So, and that
got
might
his
be some
duel.
of what we're seeing too.
I'd kill
but
that guy, though, for
I
sure.
presume we know more. The people I talked to did not espouse they had full knowledge either. Like I said, the normal
die?
colloquialism was to say ET or extraterrestrial.
Could
So,
you
yeah.
dumb down this
Yeah.
concept of interdimensional? Like,
Yeah.
what? I know in physics they have theorized that there are multiple dimensions other than those that we can currently detect.
None here.
Yeah, and a lot of that is based off of like Lorge.
Done
This is my
here.
bachelor's degree talking. I know there's going to be like some physicist who has a PhD. Is like, oh, Dave, you fucked that up. But basically, from high energy particle collisions and based on the deflection angles and all this stuff, what happens when the particles collide, confirm certain theoretical frameworks about extra spatial dimensions. And, I can't speak with any real authority on, precisely how that works, but a lot of, whether it be string theory or quantum mechanics, are based off of higher spatial dimensions. And
Because of the math.
so that is a mainstream physics
To get the math to
theoretical
work, you
framework.
have
that's
to
not like
increase the
wacky
amount
or
of
loony or
dimensions.
anything like that. So
It doesn't work
but
in
that's
3D space. It
basically
doesn't work in 4D
a
space.
possibility.
You have to
But
keep
like
going.
I said,
you have
like,
to ND space.
we don't really
it.
have a good theory if you lived in like 5D space, for example.
See?
It's almost
Here
like
we go.
remember the ending of the movie
the fuck
Interstellar,
does that
right?
mean?
Yes.
Where he's pushing the books. He's like in a tesseract, which is like a 4 to 5D structure, but he's trying to interact with 3D space, and of course he like leaves that space to come back to his daughter many years later at the ending of the movie. Great movie. But so That's a way to conceptualize it in something
the
you may
science
have
gets back
watched
down.
in film. It's kind of like the ending of Interstellar. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Which is based on what? Like what theory?
So the physicist Kip Thorne was the very famous guy. He was a big black hole and wormhole guy. I think it's Caltech or somewhere in California. Kip Thorne actually did all the physics equations and everything for
never
Christopher
got the
Nolan
jewel.
to make sure that they were conceptualizing and visualizing black holes and wormholes and all that stuff correctly in the movie, where you saw like the halo around the black hole when they were coming in with the ship and everything. That's actually based off of real physics models that Kip Thorne did the calculations for, which is pretty cool actually that Christopher Nolan took it to that
Dream
level. You
Eater.
know?
Yeah, that's
So
this
this
guy.
idea
I
that
killed
these
him.
beings, or whatever you want to call them, exist in some other dimension. Do we have? I mean, I don't know what you can say about this. Do we have an understanding? Do we have any sort of communication with these beings
What do you think
that
is up
give
with
us
that?
some sort of an understanding or a map of this?
Yeah, the interaction stuff, that's a sensitive area. There were multiple very senior people that were concerned about talking about that kind of stuff with me. I mean, that is certainly, as nuts as it sounds, that was a real subject of conversation. Even it sounds like something out of like Star Trek First Contact.
But it doesn't
you know.
if you have vehicles.
Well, yeah, so it's like once you realize the phenomenon's real, then you realize we've recovered artifacts and biologics or dead pilots, if you will, even though it's kind of creepy to even think about that in your worldview. You don't think they were ever alive sometimes too, right? And I'll leave it at that only because that is something the president and his cabinet need to disclose this in a controlled manner, going back to that amendment. I'm not here to push the subject in an improper
White damage in
way.
the-
And that sounds like, why don't you just do it, Dave? I'm like, there's a lot of secondary and tertiary ramifications socioeconomically, theologically, our relationship geopolitically with our allies and adversaries. This is not rip off the Band-Aid and it's simple. There's a lot of complex stuff behind the scenes that need to happen, and that's why I'm laying out all the general stuff that needs to be talked about during the disclosure process, but I should not be the one disclosing, and it would be highly inappropriate because I care about the health of the United States and its people and national security for me to do so. So I know there's people that are like, well, why doesn't Dave say X, Y, and Z? It's like, this is serious. This is not like, haha, let me tell you a good story. I'm a serious guy. I ruined my fucking career doing this. I was going to make lieutenant colonel in the Air Force this winter. I was on track to be, a flag officer equivalent civilian in my career. I spent 18 years in uniform, if you count the cadet time, right? My whole adult life was serving as an intel officer. But I wanted to see, and I'm 36, right, older millennial. I wanted to see change, so I'm spent 18 years in uniform, if you count the cadet time, right? My whole adult life was serving as an intel officer. But I wanted to see, and I'm 36, right, older millennial.
36,
I wanted to
older
see
millennial.
change, so I'm throwing the flag out, and I'm here to hold the government accountable to do the right thing in a manner that is mature and thorough, because I don't begin to say that I know everything, all the different ramifications of saying certain things publicly. I don't know all the answers to that, and that's why I have to be careful, because I don't even know, I'll call it, collateral damage effects, to use kind of a military term, what may happen if certain things in detail that are revealed that I might not know the ramifications thereof, because there's something that I'm not privy to. So this is like this is not like a fun situation. This is like humanity changing, hopefully in a good way, but this is like, quite serious. And I, risked my personal and professional life, because things have happened to me, to be public like this. And I swore an oath, but myself and my generation, want to see it change.
Can you discuss the things that have happened to you personally?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff I have to be purposely vague because there's an open Inspector General reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I'm not here to compromise the investigation by tipping
Motherfucking
off
Jewel.
my antibodies that may be watching right now. But, you know, when I really started, I have to be purposely vague because there's an open Inspector General reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I'm not here to compromise the investigation by tipping off my antibodies that may be watching right now. But, you know, when I...
What? I don't fucking know.